So this right here is my latest and greatest e-bike creation. As you can probably tell, it is custom built, dual battery configuration, 72 volts. And even though we're using a pretty, unassuming geared hub motor, we're running 4 kilowatts through this thing with zero issue. We have nice full-length fenders, front and rear, my favorite Shinko tires. This thing is near perfection, at least for my use cases, which is everyday commuting. I don't have a car. This bike right here is how I get around. Now, I haven't had this bike in particular for that long, but I already have 1,547 miles on this build, which came into existence in, I think, August of this year. Before I had this bike, I had other bikes that served the same purpose. I've been car-free for about 2 years now, and I've calculated that between all of my bikes, I have accumulated well over 10,000 miles. The first one was very sketchy, second was a huge quantum leap, and now this one, of course, is the best one yet, incorporating everything I've learned so far. So this video is dedicated in its entirety to what I've learned from 10,000 miles of riding electric bikes. All right, you guys are coming along with me for some true nighttime riding. But one of the main things I've come to appreciate via my 10,000 miles of experience on a bike is comfort. Do not overlook it. More specifically, when we're talking about bike and comfort, we're talking about the suspension, the seat, and the riding posture. A lot of people like to argue that suspension on a road bike, so for commuting purposes, is not needed. But I cannot disagree more with those people. I understand that it adds, both cost and weight to your bike. But in the context of an e-bike, it's already going to be more expensive than a traditional bike. And the weight kind of becomes negligible when you have an electric motor giving you assistance. And furthermore, with an e-bike, you're going to be traveling faster, and that equals more force when you hit a pothole, making suspension even more crucial. And I've noticed that when I have a bike that doesn't have good suspension or suspension at all, and I ride it for at least 15 miles, the next day, my entire spine is sore. So it's not just comfort for that day when you're riding, it's also just quality of life the following day. And if you're somebody like me that rides every single day, that is crucially important if you want to make this a sustainable lifestyle choice. The other components that contribute to comfort are the seat. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. The big distinction I want to just highlight for you guys that might not be aware is those bikes that have a traditional bike saddle and the moped e-bikes that have a traditional bench seat. Now, bike saddles are fantastic if you want to do a lot of pedaling, so if it's a true pedal assist bike. But I find for long cruises with throttle, a bench is way more comfortable, like significantly more comfortable. And then the final pillar here is riding position. And essentially, the more bent over you are, the lower the handlebars, the more strain you're going to have on your back. To maximize comfort, you want to be in an upright riding position. And in most cases, you can easily accomplish that by changing the handlebars to something that has a few inches of rise. The next thing I've learned via my time on an electric bike is to not skip on power and battery capacity. In the beginning, I thought I would be satisfied with a 750 watt motor, 20 amp hour, 48 volt battery. But I can tell you, you will quickly outgrow that. Bike I'm riding right now, just for context, I'm pretty happy with it. Could always be better. But this is running at 4 kilowatts, 72 volts, 30 amp hours of capacity. And it is extremely sweet. It allows me in a lot of instances to keep up with traffic, which I view as a safety thing. There's a lot of situations, especially where I live, that the infrastructure isn't set up properly for bicycles. I have to ride in the road with traffic, and being able to keep up with them is huge. But I will say that battery capacity and range is just as, if not more important than speed and power. As mentioned, this bike is now a dual battery configuration. It's a 72 volt 30 amp hour battery, and I ride it everywhere because I have pretty high confidence that it can get me most places I need to go. So the larger battery capacity you opt for, the more useful your bike will be to you. All right, let's move on to some of my favorite accessories that I've acquired over the years. Just gonna go right on red here, perfectly legal. Let's begin with a tire, because right now I'm riding at night in November. It's about freezing outside, and I'm perfectly comfortable. The trick to this is layers. I wear sweatpants, and then over the sweatpants I have a thin windproof / waterproof layer. I find that to be a winning combination, and I do a pretty similar thing with my torso. I have a sweater, and then a rainproof shell over it. But specifically, there are two pieces of equipment that are must-haves in cold weather riding. I'll leave everything I mentioned, by the way, linked below the video so you can check it out. There'll be affiliate links, so it helps to support the channel. But one is a balaclava. I have one from Rock Bros. I could not recommend it more. It's $15, and it's the most essential thing I have. It covers your neck and essentially connects your coat to your helmet, making you significantly warmer in cold, windy conditions. And then the other must-have piece of equipment that took me a while to finally kind of lock down are these heated gloves. You guys probably noticed these lights on them. And that's because they're heated. They're in the highest heating mode right now. And these things are an absolute game changer. Before I had these gloves, my hands, and my thumb in particular, was the limiting factor in how long I could ride my bike during the winter. Because once it freezes and it becomes numb and you lose functionality, controlling your bike and braking and all that kind of stuff becomes a lot more challenging. I'm super glad I finally came across a good pair of heated, thick insulated gloves that are designed for motorcycle riding. They're not cheap. These were like over $100, but I can't imagine life without them. The next accessory is something you find on your bike, and it is a good headlight and tail light. I got both of these off of Amazon. The front here is a super bright barred light. I'm extremely happy with it. The battery does run out pretty quick. It only lasts like 6 hours. But I can see why. The thing is like super bright, no complaints at all. And the taillight, super bright. And the thing I like about it in particular is how you could see it from over 180 degrees around the bike. Also, whenever I get a new bike, one of the first things I do now is change out the tires for something significantly more beefy and puncture proof. I've gotten so many flat tires in my biking career, it's not even funny. But now I use a motorcycle grade tire on my bike. In particular, it's the Shinko 241. Again, I'll leave it all linked down below. And these tires are just way more durable than bicycle tires. And so far, I have never gotten a flat with these tires. But just in case, I do keep a small bottle of slime strapped to my bike at all times, because this is an absolute lifesaver. If you do get a flat, you just put some in your tire, pump it back up, and you should be able to get home. So there you have it, guys. That's a comprehensive list of all the things I've learned from riding an e-bike for 10,000 plus miles. If you enjoyed, leave the video a like before you go. Subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.